Welcome back, guys. Today we have lesson 3 and we'll be talking about an important figure of history of philosophy. And this is John Locke. Don't confuse, it's not John Wick, right? So as you can see, it's quite long. So I'll try to do a summary and explain about it. Right, so this this have some chapters. Has 16 chapters. The first one is the love of truth is necessary. Number 2, the origin of authority-based belief. Number 3, the force of enthusiasm which takes away reason. Number 4, the relationship between reason and revelation. Number 5, the origin of enthusiasm. 6, the enthusiastic impulse. 7, what is meant by enthusiasm. 8, enthusiasm accepts its supposed illumination without search and proof. This is quite long, this part. 9. Very short 9. How to detect enthusiasm. 10. The supposed internal light summit. 11. Enthusiasm fails to provide evidence that the proposition is from God. 12. Firmness of persuasion is no proof that a proposition is from God. 13. What is light in the mind? 14. Revelation must be judged by reason. 15. Belief is not proof of revelation. 16. The last, as can you see, is too long. The required criteria of a divine revelation. Well, the text discussed the concept of enthusiasm and importance of reason in discerning genuine revelation from false belief. Enthusiasm actually is characterized by strong personal conviction and feelings, especially of divine inspiration, can lead individuals to believe in their own certainty without proper evidence or rational justification. As you can see, is talking about faith. So this blind faith is one belief solely based on personal persuasion and can be misleading and dangerous. So we can say the text emphasizes the need to critically examine internal light or feelings or certainty to distinguish between genuine divine revelation and self-deception. The text also highlights that the strength of belief alone is not a reliable indicator of truth, as individuals can be just as convinced about false beliefs as they are about true ones. Reason is presented as the essential guide to evaluate the legitimacy of beliefs in action, especially when claims of divine inspiration are evoked. Furthermore, this text underscores the importance of subjecting supposed revelation to scrutiny and reason. It argues that belief should be grounded in evidence and rational justification rather than blind faith or personal conviction. The criteria for determining a genuine divine revelation include consistency with reason and established truth, as well as the presence of visible sign or external validation. So, without such evidence, claims of divine inspiration based solely on personal persuasion are deemed unreliable and potentially misleading. So, in conclusion, we can say the text advocates for a balanced approach that values reason as the ultimate judge of truth, especially in matters of divine revelation, could warn against the pitfalls of enthusiasm and emphasizes the necessity of evidence and rational scrutiny in discerning genuine revelation from false belief. By critically evaluating internal conviction and subjecting them to the test of reason, individual can avoid falling into the trap of self-deception and ensure that their beliefs are grounded in truth and evidence. Plus, I would like you to watch videos speaking about John Locke. Let's watch it.
One of the first people to start building the foundations for the free societies we live in today was John Locke. Locke was born in 1632 in Rington, a village in England. His ideas laid the foundation for classical liberalism, which would become increasingly prevalent in Western countries. From 1667 through the early 1680s, Locke acted as a physician and intellectual aide to the Earl of Shaftesbury. Around 1679 to 1680, Locke drafted one of his most influential works, the Two Treatises of Government. Locke's two treatises argued for radical limits on the authority of the state, limiting the function of government to the narrow protection of people's rights to life, liberty, and estate. Locke fled to Holland in 1683 due to his association with Shaftesbury and his counterparts, and their continued opposition to Charles II. While in Holland, he composed A Letter Concerning Toleration, which is one of the great landmark essays in defense of religious toleration. Locke returned to England after the Glorious Revolution of 1688, which installed the more liberal regime of William and Mary. In 1689, the Two Treatises was published. He also published his A Letter Concerning Toleration around this time. Locke remained concerned about persecution, so these works were published anonymously. Locke's insights into the nature of a just government and the nature of freedom established the foundation for a radically different political philosophy. His writings influenced many thinkers and scholars, including Voltaire, Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the Scottish Enlightenment thinkers, and the American revolutionaries. Classical liberalism, as it became known, became a revolutionary force in the Western world in the 18th and 19th centuries, and remains influential to this day. For more information,
John Locke is the father of classical liberalism. His core political ideas and doctrines are really at the heart of constitutional law and Anglo-American jurisprudence.
British philosopher John Locke was born on August 29, 1632, in the county of Somerset, England. After attending schools in London and Oxford, he received his Master's of Arts from the prestigious Christ College.
In 1668, he was elected into the Royal Society, where he studied medicine and graduated as a physician in 1684.
While Locke was studying medicine, he met Anthony Ashley Cooper, who persuaded Locke to move to London and be his personal physician. Lord Ashley would later become the first Earl of Shaftesbury.
As Lord Shaftesbury's stature grew, Locke's responsibilities went well beyond personal secretary or physician. Locke became a government official. He was in charge of collecting data on the colonies, and in fact becomes a political operative, and eventually becomes a revolutionary.
Lord Shaftesbury was tried for treason and in 1682 fled to Holland. Locke followed a year later, and there wrote his philosophical work, An Essay Concerning Human Understanding.
Locke formulates one of his most famous notions, that there are no innate ideas, that man is born a blank slate. This notion, known as empiricism, directly challenges their idea I learn things through my reason alone.
After what later became known as the Glorious Revolution of 1688, Locke returned to England and published two treatises of civil government, which became one of history's most famous works on social contract theory.
John Locke introduced the idea of personal sovereignty. He said that each human being should have powers of self-determination.
Locke rejected divine rights of kings theory. Instead, he argued that God gave rights to individuals against the government, not that God gave the king power.
John Locke was an intellectual hero for the American founding fathers, in particular James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, and Alexander Hamilton.
In his later years, John Locke wrote other important works promoting religious tolerance and new approaches to education. John Locke died at the age of 72 on October 28, 1704, in Essex, England.
Locke's legacy today defines our political vocabulary to this day. We still talk endlessly about individual rights and natural rights, about limited government, and the separation of church and state.
That was a very interesting video. So, speaking about John Locke in Forum Lesson 3, we have some question about it. Who was he? What contribution did John Locke make to epistology? What was John Locke's influence? What did Locke believe about human nature? How did John Locke view the people? What was the conclusion of John Locke? Don't forget to read very quietly and precisely the text, this text. And don't forget this discusses the concept of enthusiasm and the dangers associated with relying solely on personal conviction, some feelings and evidence for divine revelation. I will explain more about this. I was. Actually, don't forget the summary I did speaking of this, but I will explain again. This talk about enthusiasm, we all have very clear that. So this enthusiasm leads individuals to believe that their beliefs and action are guided by God without rational evidence or logical justification. This blind faith in immediate revelation can lead to mix with beliefs and segregation behaviors. That means enthusiasts often claim to have an internal light or feelings that can guide them, leading them to believe that their beliefs are true slowly because they strongly believe in them. However, we can argue this subjective certainty is not sufficient evidence for the truth of a proposition or its divine origin. We know without rational grounds or proof, relying on personal conviction alone is shaky ground for determining the validity of belief or actions. We can emphasize the importance of subjecting these internal feelings and beliefs to rational investigation, because reason should be the final judge and guide in evaluating beliefs claimed to be from God. I mean, if I believe is rational and supported by evidence that it comes from God, then reason certified it as true. So without objective reasoning, it becomes challenging to distinguish between genuine inspiration, delusion, truth, and falsehood. Well, in summary, we can say that this text warns against the danger of enthusiasm on the pitfall of relying solely on personal conviction and feelings as evidence for divine revelation. Also, we can say this stresses the need for national rational scrutiny and evidence-based reasoning to discern true inspiration from misguided beliefs. To end our lesson, again, don't forget to rewind the video about talking about John Locke and answer the question 4. See you next time.